Jello, so before beginning anything, tell me if the music in the background is too much. I'm gonna upload this later, so I can still remove that in the post-production. Or rather, I won't add it. So, yeah. Hello and welcome to the Season 1 review vlog of Legend of Korra. My gosh, it was quite a strong opening for a show, I must say. And yeah, I have actually gained some knowledge about the um, happenings that went behind um, with Nickelodeon and how they screwed up the series royally, but that being said, I have a lot to say about the series and I'll try to keep it rather concise. I'll try to keep this as brief as possible, but I'm known to ramble on for long. So, without further ado, let's just immediately jump to it. So, I obviously enjoyed the series a lot. And without comparing, I'm going to make later a comparison of Korra to Avatar or the Last Airbender series, as they are two completely different series, and even though they can be compared, it's not like they can be compared strictly, but they can be compared the elements between each other and how they executed upon those. But the individual elements of Korra, I feel like, are very well done, just in general. And so we get on with the actual. Let's just immediately jump to the general first impressions of the series, which is it's represented very well and very energetically. And I feel like the beginning of the season is done very well. Like it introduces the characters and the world very well, and also the plot for the first season very effectively, while also giving us the brief rundown how the general mood will be for the first season, as well as how the modus operandi will be for it. And we get a very good glimpse of, well, everything about the world, basically. And the series has a lot of strengths just on its own. Like, it has a lot of strengths, but I must say that it does build on the world that we left off in the end of The Last Airbender very well. And it borrows many elements from it, but in a way evolves from those, or improves, if you wish to say it like that. But as I said, not directly comparable series. So first off, let's speak about just animation in general, as I feel the animation is generally a lot better than it was in majority of, well, it's in general the animation is pretty good, and it doesn't feel like it's by no means bad. There are some issues here and there where the animation feels like it skips few frames, but that's a very minor complaint here. Like, there are some times where it feels like there is some jaggedness to the animation and the quality could be better, but overall I feel like the animation itself is very well, as it really does represent the just overall, it's just a very well animated show in general. Like, I could go into detail about every single fact, but just to keep it brief, it's very well animated in general. Yeah. But then let's talk about graphical design, as this is one of the most interesting aspects of Korra, as it has taken very heavy influence from the industrialization era of humanity, and in general it can be very well compared to like the Victorian era London, for example. Like, it has a lot of steampunk elements, but rather in a bit more modernized version of steampunk, where it's very believable that this technology that they represent could very well exist and is still very believable, and it's represented very realistically and believably, and it looks very cool, and it creates a very nice atmosphere for the whole show. And the city is very well designed so that it doesn't like change radically, and it just keeps the whole, as the series is, at least the first season is, very much revolves around the city, and the city looks consistent, and that's really cool because it does feel like a hallucinative city, like it could actually exist, and it doesn't really break from its norm. And the we do visit other locations, and the perspective between those locations and the city do give us the feeling that the world has some level of technological advancement in that area. It does show that like the technology is very heavily based on that one city, but from the glimpses of other worlds that we do see, it shows that technology has advanced here and there very differently, and that's very nice, and it creates the atmosphere in the show overall is very well done with the animation, or rather the graphical design of the city in general. The characters, I feel like, just in general, the citizens look believably Victorian era, or I think I'm misusing that word still, or whatever. It looks a very, the citizens dress like they should be, and they really do fit in well with the city. And I do like how it still shows the traditional elements of different tribes and how they dress, and it looks very nice. And even though it has changed a bit, it hasn't changed drastically. And yes, it's obviously almost impossible to not use some comparisons to the Last Airbender series, as this is a direct sequel, kind of, in a way, or rather in a timeline sense. This comes after that. So yeah, it's kind of nice to see how the world has developed, and it can be very well seen in the graphical design department, and I do very much like that. Still, the bending has also evolved in a very cool way that I've talked so much during the commentaries of the individual episodes of how much I like the bending styles and how it has developed into more of a boxing style, just in general. I feel like it's very usable for every type of bending, even though there are better options for that, but it still gives it a more dynamic and subtle feeling at the same time, where it packs more punch, but at the same time looks more believable and less flary, and still gives it this rather kept back or low this subtle feeling of subtlety, while at the same time being more powerful. It's kind of hard to say, or it's kind of hard to tell you what I'm trying. I wonder if you get what I'm trying to say. Like, it's subtle, but at the same time powerful. Yeah. But that really does come through with the bending aspect, as it is very dynamic and looks really cool. Overall, the fights are very well designed, and the fighting is one of the most entertaining, if not the most entertaining part of the series, or the first season at the very least. And it is very entertaining. So yeah, why do I all the time? It is very entertaining on the graphical design, and it's a visual marvel to behold. It's not perhaps the most visually appealing series ever, but it's by no means slouch, and it's very entertaining on that department. And then the sound design department, I must give props to, first off, Aman's voice actor, Ross Bloom, or I can't remember, I should have memorized his name. But anyway, his voice actor is amazing. He just portrays the evil in Aman perfectly, and just like the portrayal of Aman in general for the first season is mostly thanks to the voice that he brings, and it's so perfect. I very much enjoy that. Then the other voice actors are by no means bad. That's a really bad habit. Just in general, every voice actor is at the very least passable, and some of them are very good. Like, for example, I feel like Bolin's character, who after a few episodes comes to his own and really fits really well with the character. Same with Korra, but Korra was very perfect for the role to begin with, as was Meiko and Asami as well. Asami's father, whose name just escapes me at the moment. I wonder if that boy's name was Meiko anyway. So yeah, Asami's father as well has a very good voice actor, as does Tenzin and Lin Bei-fong, whatever, the metal bender police officer lady. Like, their voice actors I really do like how the voice actors are picked so perfectly, and they fit the characters really well, and they emphasize their main attributes so perfectly, and it's one of the best aspects of the series in my opinion, as I do very much appreciate voice acting. I could go into more detail about that, but that will be saved for something else. So, in general, I know I'm skipping a lot of things here, or rather I'm saying a lot of things out, but that's because this will be the final subject, or rather not the final, but one of the last things we'll talk about is the story side of the things, and this will take the entirety of the last video, because holy crap, there's a lot to talk about. Okay, so overall, let's talk about the general plot of the first season, which is Korra tries to become the Avatar, or rather take up the mantle of the Avatar by learning airbending and making spiritual contact with the Avatar spirit. And that's basically it. And that's mixed in with the plot of Aman and his heavy opposition to benders in general. And it does work rather well with the Korra opposing Aman, and that's a very nice dichotomy, I feel like. The opposition of, I don't know if I will use that word correctly, Korra versus Aman, and while it's also a Korra's development story for her to learn and become herself, or rather find herself. I'm tripping over my words here. So yeah, I do like that the story is simple on the surface. The story is very clear. It's Aman versus Korra, and both of their goonies. Although Korra has a rather smaller group of people to fight with rather than Aman, but you know, whatever. But that's just the general overview of the story, as the story has a lot deeper meanings behind it. First, let's discuss some of the bad things. And everybody knew this was coming. We're gonna have to talk about the romance. Oh man. Okay, so first off, I am not opposed to romance in stories in general. And honestly, I am not bothered by it, as this series is meant for teenagers, definitely, as it's a much more darker series. It's meant for teenagers clearly, and teenagers for some reason have this habit of liking romantic stories, and in that way it's understandable why you would put some romance into the story. It's not bad, I want to say, but honestly it's not executed upon that well. I mean, there's nothing really to complain about this romance, as it doesn't really this time around. In this, I honestly feel like the romance does, or rather the triangle plot of Meiko, Asami and Korra, that triangle doesn't really take that much time away from the series, except for that one episode. But besides that, I honestly don't feel like it interferes with the story that much. However, it doesn't really add that much to the story. At least it didn't yet. And if there were only one season of Korra, I would be left. The romance would really bother me at this point, as it's left in a very bad state. Or rather, it's kind of hard to express this. I feel like it should have been either completely left to the sideways, so that they would, like, they either should have given it more time or less time. But just the amount of time they gave it, I feel like it's not that good. It just feels like there's so much undeveloped, but there's so much undeveloped plot in it. But there's also so much more potential they could have done with it, as it is a very interesting romance with the perspective of Asami versus Korra, and which one Meiko will go for, as Asami is, they really do represent two sides of or rather they are two very distinctly different characters. Like, they are almost polar opposites, Asami and Korra is, that I feel like. Even though they have one defining character trait, oh, two rather, but you know, let's not discuss gender issues here. They have one defining character trait that is that they both share, and that is that they are both very good at fighting, or at least adept in the case of Asami, and she is able to hold herself. I don't know whether it would have been better for Asami to be bad at fighting or not, but it would have made them complete opposites. But what we got is fine, I suppose. Yeah, so I honestly don't have that big of a problem with the romance. It doesn't really take that much away from the series. The problem is that it doesn't add anything to the series, you know? Get my idea? It's not bad, but it's not useful. It could have been used for something better. They could have done so much more with it, as it does create a very interesting dynamic between a non-bender and a bender. Or rather, a non-bender and an avatar. There could have been so much more done with it. Another big complaint that I've heard and looked out throughout the internet was that there was some complaining about the Deus Ex Machina and coming to energy bending Korra. And I can see where the complaint about the finale is coming from, as it is indeed very Deus Ex Machina. Like, Aang came out of nowhere, basically. But we have seen, in the last Airbender series, we have seen that the the previous avatars have been able to bend, or rather, almost completely take over the current avatar's body and bend in their stead. But energy bending, I honestly don't have a problem with it, but I can see where the complaint is coming from, as it does really feel like a Deus Ex Machina that suddenly Aang came out of nowhere and gave Korra the answer and neatly tied everything happily forever after. However, I don't feel like it's a problem, as it does give a really good happy ending, and if it ended here, there were very little unresolved storylines here, as Korra has learned all 4 elements, even though that was really quick for a first season to learn everything, and she has made connection to the Avatar spirit. I feel like it's fine, but I can see where the complaints are, so I'm not invalidating your opinion, I'm just saying, giving you my opinion about it. But yeah. However, the series in general has a lot of good things, and that is, it brings up, or rather, one of the best things about series is that it can invoke questions in you, like moral questions, and it can make you question your view of the world, and it can be used as a conversation starter for a lot of topics, and you can start a discussion out of those. I'm not gonna give you my opinions about these topics here, maybe on a later day, but I'm going to just briefly summarize some of the topics that can be handled with the series. So first off, they handled this whole hereditary power of the avatar in a way that the whole avatar spirit is an interesting concept, and in a way that you are able to even unlock the bending powers of others. It creates this interesting dynamic that, technically speaking, if you are spiritual enough, you could use other avatars and have them bend for you, if they have some unique type of bending, in a way like Aang had the energy bending. So in that way, it creates this interesting possibility that if in the future any of the avatars finds a way to either reverse aging or live on forever or something like that. Technically speaking, that avatar could learn every type of bending that every avatar has learned before that. And if he dies, any avatar in the future who has the capability to actually access that avatar could, technically speaking, also learn every type of bending. It's just an interesting topic to think about, the whole avatar spirit and how, technically speaking, hereditary it is for the avatar to learn everything. It's just an interesting thing. It's just something interesting to think about. Another interesting topic that is brought up here is, or in the first season, is classism, and how, just in a basic Marxist idea, how some people are just hereditarily more powerful than others, as some people can bend and others cannot. And that gives them a huge advantage. And that creates a huge class difference between them. And that's a very important issue for the first season. I'm not gonna talk about that more, but it's a very interesting issue that was handled here, and it was handled well, I feel like, as it does create a lot of tension in the first season and in real life even. And that kind of mirroring is exactly what I like. That plays very well to my tastes, and I enjoy it so immensely. I feel like the creators should have maybe given more of their own opinion about this subject, but they gave enough that it doesn't feel like they are pushing their own agenda here, but they gave enough that it feels like they are giving their own opinion without it being over intrusive. Oh man, I'm just getting freaking high up here, like, what the heck am I talking about even? Yeah. Another subtle type of difference that can be sensed on this first season is the fact that there's a lot of like this is just an unfortunate effect that I am probably the only one that felt this, but it feels like there's some kind of sexism in the series, in that it feels like there's some kind of undercurrent about the whole sexism issue and the gender inequality issue that's been addressed here. But that's only what I felt, and it's not very clear, like, whether that is probably just my delusion as a white male cis scum. But yeah, overall, there's a lot to talk about this season, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna leave this off here, like, oh man, I forgot, I am going to have to talk about every character. I completely forgot to talk about the characters. Oh man, okay, let's talk about the most interesting, or not interesting, aspect, which is, now after I have addressed the story and the political issues that can be talked about, I'm gonna have to talk about the characters. So first off, let's talk with Korra. Let's talk about Korra, as I find her amazing. She is one of my favorite female characters ever, as even though she is a tomboy character, and I am pretty sure nobody can argue that, she is a tomboy done very well, in that she still has her femininity in her, like, she isn't transsexual or anything like that, but that she is definitely a tomboy character, in that she is very manly, but at the same time she is also in a way feminine. But it's amazing to see how powerful she is and how entertaining and self-confident, and she's just a strong, powerful female character, and I very much like I just very much enjoy her. Though I can't really say why, or actually I know exactly the reason why, and this might actually undermine a lot of the things that I like about the series, and that is her character. It's not, her character is something that her gender plays a part in her character. I'm gonna sound like a horrible person right now. Oh god, every feminist is gonna tear me to pieces. The fact that she's a female plays an important part in the distinct differences that her character has to the general archetype of a female in the series, which is very well contrasted with Asami, in that Korra is physically very strong. Like, she can easily hold up to any man in the series, and she does on several occasions. And it creates this interesting dynamic where, because she is female, people are even more flabbergasted about her strength, and also how outgoing and I'm just talking myself into a trap here. Like, she is so different from the archetypical female that, and they have addressed this in the show. Like, the first season has definitely, it acknowledges that she is very different from from the archetypical female, and it does create a lot of confusion and differences in the show, but in a subtle way. And I like how clever it is, how intelligently it is done. And at the same time, I feel like her character is also something that she could be very well a man, and it would be still very entertaining to follow, as her main character traits are something that are just amusing to follow, even if she would be a man. Oh god, I'm just gonna. I feel like I feel really horrible, and that I'm talking myself into a really bad trap here. But I'm just. That's honestly what I feel like about her character. Oh god, I don't want to waste too much time here. I want to make this like the shortest recap I can, but I think I've already crossed the line here. And then let's really quickly talk about the whole the rest of the cast. And first off, let's go over the female characters, and those are all the two most important female characters, which are Lin Bei-fong. I can't. The female officer, police lady, general. God, I had her name on my. God, whatever. She is a very interesting character in that she is also rather entertaining, and her character possibly has the most developed character arc of any character in the first season, and in that she develops as a character a lot. In that the first she despises Korra and doesn't want anything to do with her, but later on really sacrifices herself for her, and it's a very touching moment. And just overall how her attitudes change are just interesting. It's interesting to follow, and it's entertaining at the same time, as she also is a rather different from. She's very different from every type of woman, but not in as much of a general difference to Korra. But she also breaks the norm in that the way that she has a lot of political power as well, and that her standing, technically speaking, is higher than Korra, even though Korra is like a legendary figure and blah blah blah, she's an amateur. But that's not important. And I also like her character as well, and she might be more. I might like her more than Korra, but that's just because she's more subtle. But I do like Korra in her flair and how expressive she is, but her changes are still subtle. I still like the both of those characters are amazing. And then let's talk about Asami, who fulfills she is the most feminine of the she's most feminine of the three females, and she is also an interesting character, as I predicted she would be evil, but she, technically speaking, actually speaking, was not evil at all, and that was interesting. But she also has an important role in the series, and she is by no means something that can be negated, and her role is very important for the series, as she does bring a lot of tension inside the group and also represents the non-bender side of things in a lot of ways, and that's something that I really appreciate them bringing in the show, but I feel like she wasn't fully realized in the first season, and that's a shame because she has a lot of untapped potential. But what is most important, however, I feel like the police officer lady, Asami, and Korra feel a really strange power triangle together in a way that Korra has the most physical and spiritual power. Asami has the most economical power, as she is indeed the rich one. In a bad sort of way, but like she is definitely the most richest, and she has a lot of economical power, technically speaking, even though she is technically still underaged, but you know what I'm talking about. And the police officer lady has the most political power, as she leads not the army, but the police. So that's an interesting power triangle, as none of them have actually like all three of them, but each one of them has at least some semblance of every one of them, but definitely one of them is always weaker one for some of them. Although now that I'm thinking about it, the police officer lady pretty much has every one of those three aspects except the economical. So in a way, it's just very nice. Oh man, I'm just talking some BS. What the heck am I even talking about? Then let's talk about the male characters. Oh man, I feel horribly sexist that I separated them like this. Oh well. First off, let's mention Bolin, as there's not much to talk about him. He's just fun. I feel like the creators are okay, I'm gonna have to compare him to Sokka here, but Sokka was someone I dreaded throughout the Last Airbender series, as I was very certain I would dislike him. It turned out he was one of my favorite characters. I really hope that it will be the same with Bolin, because I really don't, but it definitely cannot be the same, as I do not feel like Bolin is in any way same as Sokka, but oh god, I'm getting really confused over here. Like, Bolin is definitely the comic relief character, but at the same time he still can be serious, but he is the light-hearted person of the group, and I like it, and he is fun immediately. But because I consider him to be fun, I feel like not everybody considers him to be fun. In general, the series has this first season at least has a very slapsticky style of humor, and I'm certain that's not good for everybody. Won't like that, or rather, it's not good for everybody. It's fine enough for me, but I don't know, I'm strange like that. And then we'll talk about Mako. I must say I'm rather disappointed about Mako, as there's not much to talk about him, as his character is not that interesting, I must say. He had a lot of potential, or has a lot of potential for the future, but just speaking theoretically, if there was no more seasons, he had a lot of potential, but they didn't really discuss that much, fulfill most of the potential that he had. And that's a shame, because there's a lot of interesting things that could be done with him, as he is both the big brother of Bolin, if I'm not mistaken, and he is anyways the more mature of the brothers, but he is still the hottie that Korra and Asami both are really do like, and that creates the interesting dynamic, and I really feel like that could be addressed in a mature, interesting way that could be discussed. It didn't happen this season, and I'm disappointed about that. Oh well, can't do anything about that. Then let's talk about Tenzin, and I find him to be amazing. He's one of my favorite characters, and he is by far my second favorite character, or rather, my favorite male character of the series, as he is really... he feels like a spiritual predecessor for Aang, in a way that he is both spiritually mature, but still has this light side of humor. It's like what Aang would be if he had grown up, or what he would be as when he was grown up. I just like Tenzin a lot. He's a very entertaining character. I'm not gonna talk about that much. But then let's talk about Darlak and Aman, as those two, oh my god. Or Novalek, but whatever. Yeah. So first off, Darlak is an amazing antagonist, as he is really shows the political issues, as I really do like the political intrigue that in most shows, as I do like backstabbing and plotting and all that kind of good stuff, and Darlak fills that role rather well. And that's why I generally like him, and his backstory really makes me almost sympathize with him. Like, I really do sympathize with him after the big moment at the end, as he really did seem like a good guy, and I'm rather disappointed that he's dead. Most likely dead. I still hold hope that he didn't die from that explosion. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. And then Aman. I really would have preferred them to keep Aman as a force of nature type of villain, as a sort of nature's response to Avatar being reborn, in the way that her being reborn, or when Korra was born, the universe decided that, hey, you, Aman, you now are the force, you are now the expression of our will, and you will go against Avatar because of reasons. Even though Avatar is the reincarnation of our will, you're gonna go against him. I just realized why that would have made no sense at all. Oh man, I completely screwed my main point there. Oh, that's interesting. I definitely did not think this through. Huh, I should cut it here, cut the video here and just think about this for a bit. But I'm not. But that's just an interesting way that they could have made it so that it's like the yin-yang effect, that when Avatar is born, there's someone born to oppose him. Or her. Or it. So yeah. But instead, it was just a powerful butbender. It's not bad, but that's... I would have preferred something else. But it's by no means bad. Oh my god, how long have I been talking? Okay. There's so much to talk about, but I really hope that the commentaries have fulfilled my purpose here, as it certainly is a series that's more playing to my tastes, as it is more darker, but at the same time subtle than the last Airbender series, and it really fulfills my desires more. And I just basically enjoy Korra more as the main character than Aang, but that's just because I like how different Korra is. I don't know. I'm just crazy like that. Yeah. This has been a really long ramble, or rather a really strange ramble. I don't know how long this has been, but it has been a while fun. It's been a while since I did anything like this. But yeah. So, do leave your positive and negative comments down below. What do you feel about my points, and do you feel... I definitely missed a lot of things. Like, if I did miss, or the issues that I missed, I'm going to talk about them and answer them in the comments if you ask about them, so, you know, and then I'm certain those will be addressed in the future seasons. And yes, I did not talk about how Nick screwed Braik like this, because That's not really an excuse that I'm gonna give the series, even though that should be given. But that's neither here nor there. What has happened, and there's nothing we can do about it. But yes, I hope you enjoyed this rambly vlog. I forgot to make notes for this, so I really rambled on from my memory, but whatever. I certainly hope you enjoyed, because I did. So, yeah, leave your thoughts down below. Without further ado, I very much thank you for watching, and it has been a pleasure. I will return to you with the Season 2 of Korra, and maybe some other videos. Who knows? I'll see you in the future. Have a great day, and stay awesome. I'll see you in the next video. Ganmue, out.